go into our pad here. Let's go in here and let's add a drum. So we're gonna go to browse in this top right. That's gonna allow you to see what's either on your thumb drive, your stick, or what's on your internal library. You have a small internal library to save samples and different things like that. Right now I have a couple of different things loaded up on this DJS, and if we go into here, we could load up some different sounds. Say we want some one shots, and say I just want to go into one of these kits. Let's load this kick up right here. So we got this kick loaded up. It's a one-shot kick. And what we could do is we could go in here and go start to program, okay? So down at the bottom, we're going from top to bottom here. You have this little sequencer creator, this little pattern creator right here. And what you can do is you could use this to tap in a pattern that you want. All right, and I can adjust tempo over here on the right. So now I got that pattern created. Let's say I want to put a clap in there. So I'm gonna select pad 2. Pad 2 is selected. We're gonna go in and we're gonna browse again. And we're gonna find a clap. And we're gonna program this clap. So we got our kick and our clap in there. And also remember, you can go into Mixer and you can adjust those levels. Right now we are bumping. Now we got our kick and our clap, something to go off as far as tempo goes. And remember, when you have this DJS-1000 synced via link with your other, CDJs or different things like that, you can always figure out the tempo by the tracks that are already running. And when you're sampling stuff in, the only way to hear those samples is by listening on this port on the front, this headphone port right here, and being able to listen to what you're sampling in on that port. All right, so let's go in here. And we got our kick and our clap to start out with, okay? Right now, these patterns that we have selected, so like if I go to this drum, you see the red is gonna be this pattern. If I go to this orange, I have the claps programmed in here. And then the more instruments we add, the different patterns you could program. Every sample that you have, or every one shot, every drum, whatever you load in has a pattern that you create to it. You can go in here and you could create different scenes. So right now we have this one scene going, and say we want to add something new to the next scene as a performance. So this is where it could get a little bit confusing sometimes, but if you click down here on scene and pattern, left side you have scenes. So the left side is all the different scenes you want to create. You can create 16 different scenes. In every different scene you can have 16 different patterns going. I know that can be confusing, but it allows you to create like a whole song, multiple songs, by having multiple patterns. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna be in scene 1, but we're gonna add a second pattern to scene 1. So we got this second pattern. Let's copy our pattern from scene 1 and paste it in scene 2. So we got our kick and our drum going on scene 2. We're in scene 1. We got 2 patterns in scene 1. So right here we're in scene 1. Patterns, we got 2 different patterns. We can go to our second pattern. We got our piano sample there. So let's go back home. And what I want to do is slice this piano and record it. So to do that, we want to basically let the track go. And right now it's quantizing me. What I want to do is turn that quantize off so that it doesn't quantize me. Now we're not being quantized. It's not going to hold us in that grid. So what I want to do is figure out a pattern to record. All right, Next window we got is this sequence window. And if we want to extend this sequence more than 4 bars, what we need to do is hit shift and then click on pattern length and add to this window. So I added 1, 2, 3, 4. I added 4 different bar sections there. So that's 16 bar loop. So now this pattern is gonna play for longer, right? So it gives me time to actually do that pattern that I want. All right, so now let's say I wanna record that and I wanna bring it in on the 1. So we're gonna hit record. And I want to hit turn off record so that it stops recording. And then you can also adjust that. So if I go back home, I could click on that sample and I can adjust the amplitude, I could adjust the LFO, I could adjust the different things like that. So I could adjust the attack of the sample. Then I could also add an effect. So if I want to go here, I could tap on effects, could select an effect, and in effects you have chorus, flange, you have EQ, you have filter, you have delay, you have lo-fi, compressor. You have a ton of different stuff to choose from. Distortion, phaser, ducker. I mean, it's not as much as something like Ableton or whatever, having a bunch of VSTs and stuff, but it's definitely stuff that can get the job done, you know? So you can go in here and you could select, you know, flanger or we've got that selected, and say you didn't like that. Say that this pattern, so let's go at it, click out of that again. Let's select this guy and say, I don't like this pattern right here that I have going on. I have 4 different 4-bar loops of this pattern, and say I don't like it, I want to get rid of it. I can go down here and I can actually click on the stuff that I played and I can get rid of it. I can go, okay, I don't really like this. I want to do something else. So now I can go back and I can redo that pattern. All right, so now I can go back in the sequence. I can see my full sequence and I can play something else. Let's try it. So now we have a pattern that we kind of like. If we go back into scene, we're in scene 1. We go back to pattern. We have 2 patterns. This first pattern is just the drum. All right. And so this is how you kind of create a set. So you have pattern number 1. Say I want to go into pattern number 2. I can do stuff like add effects. I have this filter, right? High pass filter. Maybe I want a low pass. So maybe that's my second section. Let's go back home. Now you see the effects. Now you see you're starting to build a performance, right? You're starting to build something up. So I want to take that same pattern. Let's select that pattern. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to put it into pattern 3, and I'm going to add some more. So now I got this. Let's add a hi-hat. So I'm going to go in here. We're going to browse sample again. We're going to try to find a hi-hat. There's a hi-hat right there. So we're going to go back home. I'm going to get out of this slice mode because We don't need to slice a hi-hat. It's too small. It's too short of a sample. So we get out a slice. You can scale a hi-hat. So that's another thing you could do, is by hitting this scale, you could scale different samples. But right now, we just want to tap that hi-hat in. So you can also program. You don't have to sit here and punch in your patterns, even though that's an easy way to do it too. But you can also record them. So I like to see the sequence while I'm recording sometimes. So now I got a hi-hat recorded. And say maybe I need to turn that hi-hat down a little bit. I can go into this mixer and I can... Even if I wanted to pan it. So now we got that. Let's go back home and we could see we got this pattern punched in here. You can see it's on 311, 715. We could go back to our patterns. Now we have 3 patterns, right? Go to 1, just the drum. So now we got, you know, a build. We're starting to build stuff. We're starting to build different things like that.